Hey everybody, what's up? It's Tipping the Scales. I'm your girl Shea Dawson, and today,
I am Nici, also known as Pretty Nici. Guest host.
hey, got a guest host today. So excited. T and I have crazy schedules, so Nikki is filling in for her today. And
Yes.
sis, thank you so much. Like you don't even understand.
I'm at home, so
Yeah,
we're here.
what's your intro on YouTube? Get in your living
Hey
room.
y'all. Get comfortable, take your shoes off, stay a little while. We are in the tipping room.
Ooh. See, y'all don't even know this about Nikki. She has so many skills.
Girl.
And I just felt like last episode when you were our guest, now you are our co-host, guest co-host.
Yes.
You had so much more to say. So I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And today is kind of it's kind of deep because so many things have been happening around the world.
Too many things.
And there's really no way to like process.
Nope.
I feel like, are you a little bit desensitized? I feel like I'm desensitized. Like I'm getting, I don't know. It's really weird.
I feel like I'm in a constant. I actually was just talking to somebody about this. I feel detached. Like, I think naturally I'm not a very emotional person, but I was actually talking to my mom about this. I was telling her, like, in current times, like how things are going, you almost have to live in a steady, constant state of detachment in order to just like maintain and be.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like, because it keeps like every time you open your phone, something happens.
Something.
You know?
Yeah.
So today, Nikki and I wanted to get on here, and T as well.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about this with her. And we wanted to talk about the communities affected by the mass shootings, the terrorist attack in Buffalo, at Tops grocery store in Buffalo, New York, where 10 Black elderly people were targeted by an 18-year-old white supremacist. Hunted. He drove 200 miles? I forget how many miles he drove.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And I'm be honest, like I don't even know the facts on things because when I say I detach, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Details,
no,
I don't know.
And I'm with you. So he drove some odd miles out of his freaking way to drive to a grocery store in a Black neighborhood, the only grocery store.
Low income neighborhood.
In that low income neighborhood. Mind you, one of my friends who I play volleyball with, she's from Buffalo, New York. And her dad goes to that grocery store.
I can imagine.
She told me she was very devastated about this. So they were hunted and murdered in cold blood. And he purposely, the reason why we know, he streamed on his helmet or Twitch. Whatever on Twitch, killing them like it was a damn video game. And when I saw it, obviously I didn't see the video. I was not trying to see the video.
I'm not doing that. Yeah. Again, I don't understand why it's accessible. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like during like 9/11, at some point they stopped showing it on the news because they thought about all the families that were like impacted. And here it's like, if you wanted to pull up when George Floyd got killed, you could pull up that video. You could pull up him hunting these people in this grocery store. You could pull up, and it's just like, why is this like, where's the censorship? Why is that a thing? Why can we see this? I don't understand it. Like, not that I think I was actually just discussing this with a friend the other day. Like, I stopped watching them. Like, there was a certain point where, like, I think I watched Eric Gardner get killed. I watched, I forget, it's so sad. So many of them. I forget the gentleman's name in Louisiana. Between him and then the guy it was a guy who got shot in a car, and there was another one here in Cincinnati, Sam DuBose. Those are the last ones I watched, and that was years ago. Because I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, this is not Law and Order SVU. Like, this is not a movie. This is real life. Like,
and to say that like those people who were killed and murdered were Black, and then we get to see this guy come out of the grocery store unscathed. This white supremacist come out of the grocery store unscathed. I mean, like, patting him down as if they knew him.
Yeah. It's like these people were living
It's
their
fucking
everyday
insane.
life.
It's insane.
They were not
afraid.
they weren't bothering
They weren't
anybody.
afraid of him because they knew that he wasn't going to hurt them.
Oh, yeah.
They knew.
But somebody that is selling CDs is more of a threat than somebody who has an AR-15 that literally has just killed people. They're more of a threat than somebody who's just selling loose cigarettes or sleeping in their bed or taking a job. Like we can play out every scenario, but it's like those people lost their lives. This person took lives but kept his. And I'm not advocating that they should have killed him.
Right.
I'm just saying
I'm not advocating for that either.
It's like the blatant disrespect of Black life. I don't know how else to put that. And I'm not even trying to be funny with the shooting that just happened in Texas. It's almost as if because most of those kids were brown kids, this is going to get swept up under the rug. It's not the same as
it's already going away.
Or yeah.
It's already going away.
The grocery store shooting, I did not hear anything else about it. And then the following week we get the school shooting. But because all those were brown kids, it's like they don't hold the same weight as the Sandy Hooks and
a brown community, mind you.
Yes. Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So not only was the school, obviously it was like an entire community of Hispanic people in Texas. And it's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Are you kidding me? Mind you, both of the shooters in both shootings were 18 years old.
18.
Both with AR-15s.
Yep.
And at 18 years old, you have to be 25 to rent a car.
Yep.
In America.
Yeah.
You have to be 21 to drink.
Yeah.
And to get into clubs.
Mm-hmm.
But you can be 18 and walk in the store and buy a damn AR-15 and obliterate people from a community because you feel like it.
I think it might have been Andy Cohen. It was some gossip journalist or whatever was saying like it's harder to adopt a pet than it is to get a gun. Like when I had randomly, I guess we can find some levity in this conversation, but when I had randomly got a kitten before, there was like background checks to get a kitten.
Really?
Yes. That I only kept for 24 hours, but that's probably why they do a background check. But it's like there was more hoops to jump through for that than I could have. Well, I don't know. I'm Black, so it might be different for me. But for someone to get a gun, just just calling a spade a spade. We have different rules than other people. But it's hard.
It's really hard.
And to kind of share a situation that happened here in Cincinnati recently that kind of hit home. There was long story short, I had placed a drive-through or drive-up pickup order at Target and was literally on my way to go and pick up my order because I got the notification, it's time for you to come pick up your stuff. I'm like, cool, somebody had hit me up about something I was selling online. So I was like, ooh, let me handle this first. Let me get my money. Next thing I know, I got a text from my sister in our family group chat. There was an active shooter at the Target that I was going to. And here's the crazy part about that is even though I had the drive up order, it was for, what was this, in March, I think. But I was going to get my parents' anniversary card. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick my little order up and I'm gonna run in, get their card and come. I would have been in that doorway when that happened. Now, granted, it wasn't like a terrorist. It was literally like, somebody saw somebody in a store, said that he looked at him funny, went out to his car, got a gun, killed him on the way out. Nobody knows why, but can you imagine being the person in the store, not knowing the situation because of how easily mass shootings happen in this country? Like, can you imagine just going like, oh, I'm gonna go get my parents an anniversary card and you in the car now and you start here shooting?
Or could you imagine going to the grocery store?
That's what I'm saying.
Because you're Black, you die.
Yeah. And that's the thing, we don't know, unfortunately, what you're walking into in a lot of situations. And my thing is so I always think about the people who were not directly impacted, but how the ripple effect of things happen. Yeah. When I say it, I think I just went back to that Target maybe last week for the first time, just out of sheer nope,
trust,
not doing that.
How your everything changes. Your patterns change.
Everything.
When you enter buildings, I didn't sit with my back to the door technically.
Nope.
If I remembered, I would, but now I'm like, so like today I walked, I'm staying at a hotel and I walked down the street and I was so nervous to even go inside. I stayed outside so that I could like
Yeah.
run if something happened. And
Why
mind
do we
you,
have to live
something
like
did
this?
happen. So
Yeah.
there's this man, obviously he was mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
I see him, saying crazy things walking around.
Yeah.
And he walks into the store. I know he's not supposed to be in the store, or I know he's not going to go in to buy anything because he's yelling obscenities and stuff.
Yeah.
So the employees like funnel him out, and he has a screwdriver, and he's walking next to me. And Nikki, when I tell you, I have my chopsticks in my hand, like I will stab this man through the neck.
You
Like I'm
got to
not
be
playing.
ready.
And but in my head, I'm thinking too, like, oh God, please don't let me, experience any trauma right now. Like I don't think I can handle another thing.
I don't have the capacity for.
Sometimes I feel like I'm walking dead because I'm okay, but I'm not okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm still holding on from things that happened in the pandemic.
Yes. Yeah.
And then just like every little thing that happens, every death that I watch, I've never seen so much death in real time.
Yeah.
In my entire life.
It's crazy. I had actually just put on Facebook the other day, like, you know how when you're swimming in the ocean, I'm not a great swimmer. Actually, I'm not a swimmer at all. But when you're in the ocean and it's like you're not drowning, but it takes you a very long and hard way to get to where you're trying to go. That's where I am. Yeah. Where it's like, I jokingly said, like, I ain't drowning, but I done swallowed some water. Cause it's like you're trying to stay afloat. Treading water is work. It's so much work. And it's like it's like we're living, existing, adulting, all of the above. And then it's like we get hit with a grocery store shooting. That's a wave that smacks you in the face. Then a school shooting. That's a wave that smacks you in the face. Then a random guy shooting somebody at the Target that you like. It's so many trauma after trauma. Like, what are you supposed to do?
And then to compound it, the politicians, mostly Republicans, mostly the right wing. Now, mind you, I'm no wing.
Yeah,
because it just doesn't make any sense. All the wings, they're terrible right now.
All of them.
But my thing is like anything that's like so conservative that seems like it had like why are all the terrorists and the white supremacists always in tactical gear? Why is it always in like hunting clothes?
Oh, they be ready.
You know what I'm saying? Like my thing is like I just don't understand where the hatred comes from. And we're supposed to continue to look at them in the face and believe them or like listen to them or understand and be like we're such a forgiving people. Black people.
Yes.
We're so forgiving and we have to continue to go on. And it's really, really difficult when you have to be around people who are insensitive and who don't understand the plight of certain cultures and certain races. Girl. And I just want to say like right now, like I just want to give my condolences to the families who were affected by these shootings and the victims did not deserve to go like that. No. And I did see one thing on social media that said I guess he was a retired cop. He was the security guard at the store. He was working on an engine that ran on water, like a car engine. And so there was like this theory out there. I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. He had a patent for it. And so I was trying to dig deeper into that. So I'm like, oh my God, is there more to it? Because sometimes that could be a possibility as well.
Yes.
That it could be bigger than what you actually see. Wow. And he was, and the guy, the 18-year-old was working with other people on the dark web. And people were notified.
I feel better off not knowing things sometimes. Cause it's like my mind will go over, you know what I'm saying? Overload, trying to figure things out. And I think you and I kind of share this in that we are genuinely like good people. And I think sometimes we think that extends to other people and we try to find like the good in people. So when people like blatantly do evil things and blatantly do evil things in groups, my mind cannot comprehend that.
Me either.
And even when it comes to like government things and like people forcing their beliefs on other people, I can't because I don't care enough about what your preferences are, what your lifestyle is, to force mine on. Who am I to tell you what you can and cannot do? But when it's only for my benefit.
Yeah.
Do I think we need gun control? Absolutely. But the people who are basically in control of that, they are the people who have
They profit from it.
They make money from it.
They profit from everything. Everything.
Right.
Anything that sacrifices bodies, they benefit from. And speaking of, it's like gun law. Guns have more rights than our own women in America.
Girl,
our own bodies, our own ovaries, our own vagina.
Yeah.
What happens to us? Guns have more rights than us right now.
Yeah. Easily.
I mean, literally Roe v. Wade was just overturned.
Yeah.
And in some states, women can be prosecuted for getting abortions.
Yeah.
And it's just insane that it's like, how do you even process that too as a woman? And then you also don't even hear men speaking about it.
Because they don't know what to say. It's like asking me to speak on how to change brakes. I don't know anything about that.
That's a good point.
But it's like, I'm not in a position of power over that though. And that's the problem. The people that are in positions of power don't know enough about what they're saying and what they're actually overturning. Because it's not just like, oh, you get pregnant, you don't want a baby, you go have an abortion. There are medical reasons why people have abortions. There are, sexual
violence.
reasons.
Yeah.
There's so many factors that go into it that it's like when you are getting rid of something or making it where somebody has to travel to a different state to get something done,
you're putting people in danger.
That they'll take it into their own hands, which is why that law was even put into place in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. And it's like, because I can't wrap my mind around certain things, like, why is it in this country that your way has to be the highway? Why,
the right way, the highway. Yeah.
When it comes to gay and trans rights and abortions and gun, there's so many things that I'm just like, why does it have to be so cookie cutter? I just feel like there's so much power in the gray area. But I think people always think things have to be either black or either white, and the strongest of black or the strongest of white. But it's no, gray area is literally where most of the magic happens. That's where there's so much common ground, but
and the thing that gets me is that most of the people making the laws don't look like the people.
No, never.
From gender to race to, they just don't.
Right.
They just don't. And so my thing is, how can you have a world like that?
Yeah.
How can you have someone speaking about my life and about my experiences and making decisions for me, for my kids, my community, that'll never step foot in my town, in my community, which is why local elections are also important as well. I've learned that. I would say I didn't always know that, but I would have to say that listening, I've been doing a lot of listening. Since a lot of the civil unrest has been happening in the world. I've been doing a lot of reading. I've been doing a lot of talking to humans about different things. And I don't only talk to people who have same views as me, but there's also views that I have that I don't even know if they're fully formed views. You know what I'm saying?
No, exactly,
there's a lot of the times where I'm just like, I'm not really sure how I feel about this, but I would love to have a conversation because I would love to understand how to get to a place that could possibly serve you or serve me, or if it's something I don't care about and you care about more, why not figure out how to make, something just like that work? You see what I'm saying?
But how come I wish the people in power had that mindset, because we would be so much further than where we are. I mean, everybody has different lived experiences, and I think people need to understand that. People who are making laws on welfare and things like that have probably never been on welfare. How can you don't know what it's like to not be able to have your next meal or feed your kids or things like that? If you've never lived that, how can you make a law about it if you've never experienced it? How can you confidently make good decisions about that if that's not your experience?
Or you never seek out those people's voices. You never
Nope.
seek out those people's opinions. You never go into that community and say, what are the things that you guys need? Or, how can I learn from what you're doing to be a better politician, to be a better,
Yep.
leader, be a better whatever you are.
Yeah.
And it's like every time when it comes to power structures, that's almost never the case. And when it is the case, you will see a flourishing environment. You will see a culture that's amazing. You will see people who are, highly speaking about those leaders in whatever situation, community, organization, whatever. But anytime it's like power and leadership, it's either a white man and all the people doing his bidding.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like, my thing is that I'm not even opposed to that. Like, okay, do your thing. But like, do you gotta, like,
what's the trickle down? Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Wholeheartedly.
Like I said, I don't have like strong views either way in terms of like how it should go and who, and I just want like human decency. Can we just start there?
Is that too much to ask for? Like, no, but seriously, like I know I don't have the answers, but I know what we're doing ain't working. I can tell you that much. Like, it's evident. Look at the state that the world is in right now. Like, not even just America, like the entire world is in, it's off. I don't know how else to put it. It's just off. And it's like inflation. So many things that
people can't feed their babies.
Girl.
Formula.
No, y'all want people to have babies, but y'all ain't gonna feed them when they get here. And then when they go to school, when they go to school, they ain't safe. There's so many factors where I'm like, y'all, what are we doing? It's not working.
And that's another thing that when people say pro-life, this is another thing I still don't, it's not fully baked. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of life on this earth that y'all don't give a damn about.
Okay.
So when you say pro-life, what does that mean? And I don't even know the counter argument to pro-life. So I'm not saying
I don't either.
I don't even know. I'm just over here like when people start putting these like titles and these sayings, I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Because if you say something like pro-life, that means for life, right?
Yes.
And so if you're for life, let's do something about the homelessness in America.
Yep.
The homelessness in this country. I live in Atlanta. I can drive on every freeway, and there are communities of tents in the underpass.
Yep.
Downtown in LA right now. Downtown San Diego, Skid Row is right there.
Yep.
What about those lives?
What are those? What are y'all doing about those people? Because they're here and they have a life. So, but pro-life ends at abortion. Is that where it ends at?
Like, and I don't understand the obsession with that. And maybe it's a biblical thing. And you and I are both spiritual.
Yeah, I was about to say
people who read the Bible and understand. You know what I'm saying? So like, I always try to understand, like, where are you interpreting? Are you talking to Moses like back in the day? I don't understand what you're saying because it just doesn't make any sense.
It's people's power and ego and pride. And I could keep going on. That's what it boils down to.
Or
power.
Fear
Fear.
And the fear that I keep hearing, and I actually have not heard this from a white person's mouth. Or I would say like a conservative. I don't want to say a white person, a conservative's mouth.
Child, all skin folk ain't kin folk. Okay. But go ahead. My bad.
that this theory, this replacement theory that this white supremacist who went into Tops grocery store, what are you talking about?
Girl, so
y'all ain't going nowhere. We are humans and we're not going anywhere.
Period.
The pandemic showed us that we're all one. That we all go through the same thing.
Did you see the Netflix documentary about the OBGYN doctor that fathered like 90 something kids himself?
I did not.
I did not. Girl. But apparently there's like he was affiliated with a group that had a similar mindset. I won't say the same.
Replacement theory, this thing?
Yes, that he was wanting to continue the white race. And he was blonde hair, blue-eyed, white man. And he was supposed to be helping these people with their fertility, but he was using his own sperm to impregnate girl. And and here's the thing, there's no law, there's no federal law against what he did. So he's just walking around this world. Well, in Indiana, he's not walking around the world, but walking around Indiana with at least 90 something kids, because those are just the ones that were found. They all had 23andMe accounts. So that's how they all connected with each other. But that's not including the ones that didn't have 23andMe and 23andMe accounts. So basically, this man sexually violated over 90 something women. And because there was no federal law, because he was a doctor, he's free. But y'all so concerned with what women are doing with their bodies that y'all don't have a law in place for what a man who is a practicing doctor is supposed to do. Like, it's supposed to
make sense.
But he was trying to continue. He was trying to continue the white race.
So he had his reasons of why he was doing this.
Yeah.
So he had to justify it. And that's the thing about crimes, about those kind of crimes too, is that you have to justify it in some kind of sick way to continue to do it.
How is there no law? Even if it's fraud. My thing is, even if it's a fraud thing, because IVF and all of that is super expensive. Yeah. So like, if one couple in particular, they thought that the husband's sperm was getting, put into the wife, but it was the doctor's sperm instead. And like 30 years later, he finds out that his only daughter is not his daughter. It's the doctor's daughter. Do they not get compensated for that? Do they not? So it's so many again, when I say you have to walk around with a certain state of numbness to things, because now you can't even trust it when you go to the doctor that they are going to do the things that they say in which they're going to do, that they were trained to do, that they signed an oath to do. Like, it's so like, and let's not even get in.
Yes. Okay.
Black women in reproduction and
the mortality rate that this senator, Louisiana, was saying that the mortality rates wouldn't be that low if you didn't count Black women.
So it's a problem. Just
throw us away, huh?
That's what they've been trying to do for years. But
which is why Black people don't go to the doctor in the first freaking place. It's because we die there.
Yeah. It's not a trusted in the same. I mean, think about it. Where can you go for a lot of things? You can't go to the police if something happens, because it's not safe for us to do that. You can't go to the doctor if something hurts, because it's not safe for us to do that. You there's
can't
so
call
many
the cops on your mentally ill family member, because they're going to kill them.
Listen, recently there was a older Black gentleman. He was at the bus stop and he had on a hoodie, a coat, joggers, boots. It was 90 degrees out. So I'm concerned, but he was slumped over at the bus stop. First mind said, call 911 so they can do a wellness check. I kid you not. It took me literally a mental struggle for 10, 15 minutes before I called 911, because I'm I would literally lose my mind if I turned on the news and saw something happen to him, because I was the one who called the cops for a wellness check. But I'm the mental turmoil of, okay, if that was my dad or a family member, I would want somebody to go the extra mile to check on them. But at the same time, it's if I do call and if he's not in the right state of mind, if something happened, I would feel terrible. That should not be our reality. That
I'm trying to find this. I was listening to a podcast and I can't remember the guy's name, but I listened to this podcast called How I Built This. And he was interviewing a guy who sold his company to Walmart. And he, it seemed like he had everything. He had built this company. He had amassed this wealth. He was ready to propose to his wife, but he had been diagnosed with bipolar syndrome in a senior in college that he ignored. So he had a few manic episodes. He, the last one that sent him to jail was he attacked his now wife and mother-in-law because he had a manic episode. They were trying to stop him from running in the street naked. And he, I guess he kicked and punched one of them or both of them, something like that. Yeah. And he was telling the story very authentically and very just I just thought wow, the fact that he can talk about it this way.
Yeah.
And obviously he was not a Black man.
I didn't even have to ask, but yeah.
And so he also spoke, and he said this in the podcast, and I can't remember his name. But I'm gonna hopefully try and find it. But he basically said, I was so out of my mind and psychotic that if I ran into the street and I was a black man, I would have been dead. He said that. And
so y'all acknowledge the problem.
paused
you just
the
ignored
podcast
the problem.
and I just thought, wow. So there it is. Yeah. So it's not something that people gaslight you and make you think like, oh, you're playing the victim, you know? Girl. And it's like, no, this is actually the reality.
Yeah.
Of a lot of people, a lot of black and brown people.
Yep.
And it's like, every day you have to walk around with that in your mind. Every day you have to, you know, and then they say things like, you know, when shootings happen and they say things like, oh, well, black on black crime. And you're like, black on black shootings. And you're like, yes, people kill in proximity. People murder other human beings.
They're there, so
in proximity.
They didn't drive 200 miles.
Right. And then you talk about gangs. You're like, okay, well, who created the hood? And how do guns get in the hood if the hood is poor?
How did
where do you get a gun? Where do you get drugs from? Where do you get that stuff from? Right? So it's like, let's ask those questions. And it's just really sad because it's like you constantly have to swallow that. You know, and it's kind of just like crazy that I even, you know, I'm talking about it on a podcast because it's like, I don't know, where do I get to say this stuff? Like this is stuff that just goes through my mind and maybe out, you know?
Right.
Obviously, you know, me and Nafis talk a lot about it because, you know, he's a mental health professional and he deals a lot with trauma, a lot with black trauma, especially men. And so he hears about these stories all the time. And these aren't even stories that are covered in the media. These are just regular, everyday people with the most insane, traumatic experiences due to racism, due to systemic racism, due to stereotype, due to just like people just profiling them, you know? And
it's like to be black is to be in a constant state of trauma and to some degree, whether it's from past experiences, present experiences, or anxiety of future experiences, honestly. Like, but I mean, I don't like saying it, but we are like super strong because of what we've been through, but I wish we didn't have to be.
Like, tired.
Child, can we talk about it?
I'm tired.
I am tired. Okay. Like exhausted of just.
I have to laugh. Like I feel like laughing isn't the right thing, but I don't know what else to do. I can't cry. I'm desensitized. I really am.
Crying. Right. Like because if you sit here and like focus on all of the things that you don't have control over, you're not doing yourself any justice. Like what are you doing? All you can do is wake up every day and try to be the best to yourself and be the best of yourself. Whatever outside people, whatever, it's beyond you. And I think we've all gotten to that point where it's like, things will happen. We don't have control over that. It's how we react to it. And I mean, it's literally, you just have to be numb a lot of times. Like, and it sucks when like other people don't understand your experiences and like don't know what it's like to be in a constant state of just like on. Like you never know when you have to be on for whether it's defending yourself against somebody physically or, you know, understanding somebody's comment that they made
or
about
apples
you.
And orange, comparing, you know, your situation to someone else's and it could be worse and this. And it's like, instead of just acknowledging it for what it is and maybe learning a little bit. Maybe having a conversation, maybe checking in with you. I saw something happen. You know what I mean? Like
as a human being, like not even the black and white thing. Cause I know during the pandemic, like during George Floyd, I had a few
colleagues.
Yeah.
They were colleagues. They were colleagues.
Yeah, at the time. Well,
at the time.
Well, no, maybe not. But but I had a few people reach out and like I know that their intentions were good. But it was just like, okay, but you're reaching out to me. You need to reach out to your other colleagues that look like you, not me. I'm not the person that you need to. We got each other. We always gonna have each other. We good. y'all the ones need to be checking your uncle, your grandma, your grandpops, the ones that make the comments, that spew the hate, that, you know what I'm saying, that make you feel like you're better than, or that we are less than, not even that you're better than, we are less than, or we don't deserve X, Y, and Z. Check them, check in on them.
Yeah, that was a real tricky time. That was
it was
because so many people they wanted to do something.
Yeah.
And I so appreciated it too.
It's like you can have good intentions and just miss the mark though.
Yeah.
Because I felt like in a sense that some people were just checking a box, like, okay, check on my Black friend. Like it wasn't about like genuine, and that could be just where my kind of putting my blinders up was at that time.
Yeah.
But I really feel like you can have really good intentions. And I don't know the right and wrong of that. That's where the grayscale comes in, is when you have good intentions,
I don't know either.
but it misses the mark.
I had a lot of conversations to try and break things down, but even that was tearing at my soul, because it was like, you could never understand, and I don't know. I just feel like sometimes you feel like it's like they don't believe you, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like and I don't know if that's true, but it just feels like that, you know?
I did have one person reach out to me, and his approach was completely different than the others, I'll say. And I'll just say Nick, but shout out to Nick, because when he hit, yes. When he hit me up, it was like, in a very Nick way, because I love the way he's wired. It was like, he's about action. That's just who he is. And we had like, there was a guy who wrote Dr. King's speeches, who had came to the Sixers at the time. And he had given us all his book and signed it and everything. And during that time, Nick reached out to me and was like, I had this book for a long time, but I read it. And he was like, and I started doing research on certain things. And it was literally like, even if he cannot control anybody else around him, he can control himself. And he's like, I have control over how I see people, how I view people, even though I feel like well beyond that, he got it. I don't know. I don't know how else to say that, but like, but the fact of how he reached out was just like, you know, he even was like, I'm not going to be one of those people that's just like saying what you want to hear, because there's no right words. And I think even him just saying that, I'm like, bruh, you get it. Whereas like you got people that literally probably copied and pasted.
I'm going to do some homework and I'm letting you know, like, I'm doing my part.
Yeah.
You know?
And not asking me, what is it that I can give me?
What
reading
can I
material.
can do? Yeah. What can I do?
No, it was because I had a lot of people that came to me like that. And it's like, that's not my response. You're not my responsibility. You're not my assignment.
And they didn't understand that response either. That response definitely was something that was like, okay, well, how am I supposed to learn? It's like, and that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Because
we have to know everything.
You know
we
what
have to know y'all. We have to know y'all history, because we didn't get taught ours. So we have to get ours how we get it. Yeah. So the same way that I learned, you can learn.
Yeah.
There's a little thing called Google. It's free for everybody. Yeah. You could just simply Google what books are good to learn about Black rights. There's hundreds of them. You know what I mean? Like, but to reach out to your friend that's already going through trauma, because there's no way you are Black in America and did not go through trauma during that time. We were isolated. You literally could see somebody getting murdered in the street. They were, you know, in the best way that they could. People were protesting. People were breaking windows. People were angry. Like, there's no other word to describe it but anger. And in the midst of me feeling all the feels and trying to live and trying to maintain and trying not to get sick and trying to find toilet paper, now I got you asking me how I can teach you about what I'm going through. Girl, if you don't get on my face.
Right. And the other thing that was more like, I get sad around these things. There's a lot of my friends who get angry. I get sad because I'm like, you just realized that it was time to do something. That's what made me sad. Was like,
yeah, it makes me mad. I'll be the mad person.
I know. And it made me sad because it's like, you know, I just be like, I was rooting for you.
Yeah. We were all rooting for you. And then you do something that
it's just like one of those things where you're just like, and obviously not to toot my own horn, but like I love people.
You do, general. And I don't.
I know. And I know that I know that I'm different. I know that God really said, Shea, this is what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, anytime something happens in the world,
mm-hmm.
don't matter what race, religion, Jewish, Asian hate, all the shit that's going on in this world, I'm like,
yep.
What does that mean? Okay. Well, why the hell? Let me go back to the century.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do. Yeah.
And I will text my friends. I love you. I see what's going on in the world. I recognize it. You know, it's messed up. Like, not asking them what I can do, because what I can do is educate myself. Not saying, hey, now there are some things that I don't know.
Yeah, like, and you will never know.
And I tell my Jewish friends, like, if it didn't happen in America, they don't teach me my own history. So I definitely don't know about Jewish history.
Right.
So there are some questions that I do have. You know what I mean? There are some things that I need to know. Yeah. There are some things that, like, you know, I'm doing my own, but this is happening in another country. If a
Jewish person got killed, or, you know, Jewish people were murdered, God forbid, I'm not saying that's but that's not the time to ask that question. You get what I'm saying? Like, but you have the wherewithal to know that. To me, like, when we were going through that state of mourning and people, to me, were insensitive to it, it was just like, this adds to the list of things that y'all just don't get. And it's not my place to, like, do what people in your life should have done. It's not my place to educate you. Like, I used to jokingly do it with people in the office. Like, we would have cultural moments. That's what I would call it. Because it got to the point where I was like, even though I did it in a joking way, because I think I like to bring a little lightness to a lot of things, it was exhausting being the only Black person in certain spaces, that it's like, oh, y'all gonna get this joke because I'm about to explain it to y'all. And then y'all gonna know, like, you know what I'm saying? Down to even like small things, like people saying, bye, Felicia. And jokingly, yet again, one day, I had printed out a picture of the cast of Friday, and I asked them, point out Felicia, since you want to buy Felicia so much. But it's like little joking things like that. That's different. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, when you talking about oppression, murder, all these things that we are going, like, when they couldn't understand why people were looting and breaking windows and things, like, it's not my place to explain things to you to make you feel better about what's going on and what your people have done to my people. That's not my place. That, like, and to ask me to do that is literally a part of what the bigger issue is. That you expect that from me, but we can't have any expectations from you. Come on,
and
fam.
I think too, that also just speaks to what our jobs are as individuals, what our jobs are as human beings, to protect thy neighbor, right? And to really just have radical empathy for another person. If someone says, my toe hurts, your toe hurts. And I recognize that, and I need to respect that. And let me figure out how to help you. Right. Is there an obstruction in your way that I need to move out? Do I need to call somebody to say, my friend's toe, she keeps stubbing her toe because this is in her way.
Yep.
What can we do?
What can be done?
What can be done? So it's like, and I've said, like, we're both the problem and the solution. Each individual, all of us. Yeah. We need to do a better job of understanding what the next person is going through. I need to know your plight, because if you're not okay, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And if I know that you're hurting and I get to sleep peacefully at night, no, that's not okay. I need to figure out, no, it's not okay.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I just think about in the state of the union right now, is like, even if our government or our politicians aren't going to do the things that we need them to do, even if we felt like they might have when they did all that rah-rah and all that campaigning and all that stuff.
They love a good rah-rah, girl.
and we like, oh yeah, no, we didn't win nothing.
Not the way these gas prices set up, child.
Not a way that's just this whole world.
The whole world,
like
yeah.
nothing has changed.
No.
It's just, I mean, and obviously things not going to change overnight, but it's just like, it's so frustrating. It's so sad. It's so heavy. And I felt like we needed to just get on here and just talk, regardless of where it went, but just like,
it went lots of places.
There's a lot of things
like,
going on.
Yeah.
And are you okay, Nici? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
you
know, checking in. Like,
I don't think any of us are okay. And I think that's just the state of where it is. I think everybody across the board in some way, shape, or form is going through like a space of transition, a space of opposition. Like it's so much. We just got to give each other grace. Honestly, I feel like if everybody gave everybody just a little bit of grace, just teens, not a whole bunch, just a little bit, a little empathy. We don't ask too much,
man. Well, we thank you, tippers, for listening. Obviously, continue to please follow Tipping the Scales wherever you get your podcast.
Yes.
Follow us on IG. Follow Nici on IG at Pretty Nici. She will be guest hosting for a short time. So take your shoes, get comfortable. Take your shoes out, get comfortable.
Stay a little while.
But we love you and peace. We'll see you next time.